Hello there, Sopat Veva everyone. Welcome back to the Dhamma school, the Dhamma of the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha. In our last lesson, we talked about the primary roots of unwholesome, the primary roots of impurity called kilesa. Kilesa, what are they? They are called raga, dosa and moha. What is raga? Raga is the like in nature arising in our mind. What is dosa? Dosa is the dislike in nature arising in our mind. What about moha? Moha can be defined as the subjective or incongruous comparison between the extreme of the like in nature and the extreme of the dislike in nature. Already we know that if a raga thought arose in our mind, before arising raga thought, moha, comparative nature, was playing as an undercurrent. That's why there is moha behind the raga. In a similar manner, there is moha behind the dosa. However, raga, dosa and moha, all these three aspects have got one root and one origin. Honestly, initially it's impossible to recognize the arising of moha. But when we progress along the path for uprooting the arising raga and dosa, we will be able to recognize moha gradually. If we talk more about moha, comparative nature, why do we want to compare? Or what do we compare? Of course, we compare what comes into contact with our sensory faculties. Eye, ear, nose, tongue and body. These five are called sensory faculties for pleasure. Through these five sensory faculties for pleasure, we accumulate information. We accumulate experiences. Moreover, our mind has the ability to seek out our past experiences. This means our mind itself performs as a sense faculty. Therefore, there are 6 sense faculties. Actually, what comes into contact with our sensory faculties? It's called matter. Matter comes into contact with our sensory faculties. What is matter made of? Elements. In school, we have learned the periodic table of elements. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon, potassium, calcium, scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, ferrous, cobalt, nickel, copper, etc. There are about 118. But according to the teaching of the Buddha, the matter is made of 4 great elements. 4 great elements called Patavi. Patavi means solidity. Apo. Apo means fluidity. Tejo. Tejo means heat. Vayu. Vayu means motion. So, 4 great elements: solidity, fluidity, heat and motion. In Magadhi, matter is called as rupa. Rupa. Rupa means forms. What comes into contact with our sensory faculties can be explained as visual forms or sights through the eye, auditory forms or sounds through the ear, olfactory forms or smells through the nose, gustatory forms or tastes through the tongue, tactile forms or taction by the body, ideational forms or thoughts by the mind. So, we compare when matter comes into contact with our sensory faculties. We compare, but we compare relative to what? Respect to what? We compare relative to accumulation of past experiences. In Magadhi, there is a word called Asava. Asava. Asava means corruptions, corrupted experiences or corrupted mental properties. But corrupted by whom? Corrupted by three sensual dances called Raga, Dosa and Moha. So, every individual carries his own accumulation of past corrupted experiences, a bag of asava, a bag of corrupted mental properties. All right. So, my past corrupted experiences are different from yours. This means my sensual pleasures, my present sensual pleasures are different from yours. My views are different from yours. My expectations are different from yours. My measuring scale, my yardstick on things is different from yours. Therefore, my judgment differs from yours even if we both contact the same object or the same event at the same time in the same environment through our sense faculties. There's a saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But we know well that beauty is neither in the object nor in the eye, but beauty is in the mind of the beholder. Imagine that there are two baby siblings in a family. So they have got same parents. They receive equal love and care from their parents. They receive equal foods, clothing, toys, and equal education, living in the same environment. But when they become kids, they show up different characters, different qualities, and different abilities. So my question is, what caused this difference? That's why we have to accept that we have gained our mental properties not only in this life, but also carried over from infinite existence called samsara. Samsara, which is unfathomable. Samsara, the cycle of birth and death. So, now we have got an idea about asava and how our past corrupted mental properties, how our past corrupted experiences have been affecting, have been influencing, have been contaminating our present views, our present sensual pleasures, our present desires, and our present expectations, etc. However, what's the relationship of Nibbana with these Raga, Dosa, Moha and Asava? What is Nibbana? Ragakhayu, Dosakhayu, Mohakhayu, Idan Vucchati Nibbananti. Severing the root of Raga, severing the root of Dosa, severing the root of Moha is Nibbana. This means free from Raga bond, free from Dosa bond, free from Moha bond. Once the top of the palm tree is taken out or destroyed, a headless palm tree, a palm stump, has no chance to keep growing, has no chance to generate existential continuity. A palm stump, it's the analogy given by the Buddha to explain the termination of Raga, Dosa and Moha. The full eradication of Raga, Dosa and Moha is Nibbana. The Buddha has given many definitions for Nibbana. Asavakhayu Nibbanan. Severing Asava is Nibbana. The full eradication of past corrupted experiences. Asavakhayu Nibbanan. Tanhakhayu Nibbanan. Severing Tanha. Full eradication of craving is Nibbana. Kammakhayu Nibbanan. Full eradication of Kamma is Nibbana. All right. Now let's talk about the aspects of the mind. Mind has three aspects. In general, they are known as pleasant aspect, unpleasant aspect, and neutral aspect. This explanation is inaccurate and it's too childish. The Buddha has given many definitions about the aspects of the mind, from basic to complex. Today, let's talk about the basic explanation of the Buddha on the aspects of our mind. Our mind. Our mind. What is happening in our mind? What kind of processes? Our mind generates intentions. Intentions. In Magadhi, intentions are called as Dhamma. Dhamma. The teaching of the Buddha is based on intentions, Dhamma. So, our mind has three aspects. The first aspect is called Sankhara mind. Sankhara mind. Sankhara mind has three sub-aspects. The first one is Raga mind. The second one is Dosa mind. The third one is Moha mind. Already we know that Raga means the like in nature. Dosa means the dislike in nature. Moha means the comparative nature between the liking and the disliking natures. The word sankhara is made up of two words, san, kahara. Kahara means actions. San means raga, dosa and moha. Then sankhara means actions based on raga, dosa and moha intentions. The second meaning of the word san is to accumulate or accumulation. If we want to accumulate, obviously we have to act with raga, dosa and moha intentions. Without raga, dosa and moha, it's impossible to accumulate something. It's impossible to cling to something. So, sankhara means actions based on raga, dosa and moha intentions. Besides, sankhara means actions to accumulate something. Actions for accumulation. All right. So the second aspect of the mind is called avyakruta mind. That means non-aligned mind. Non-aligned mind. Non-aligned mind. It's the second aspect of the mind. In general, it's known as neutral mind. Neutral mind. So, when an object comes into contact with appropriate sense faculty, if this contact triggers the arising of raga, dosa or moha intention, it's called sankhara mind. It's a process of accumulation. In this process of accumulation, our sensory faculties don't perform as sensory faculties, but they perform as sensory agencies. Sensory agencies. So what's the difference between sensory faculties and sensory agencies? For example, the banks. The banks are financial institutes, financial agencies. The bank acquires money from people, and then the bank manages the accumulated money as the property of the bank. Similar to a bank, we have 6 sensory agencies to accumulate dirt, unnecessary, useless dirt, rubbish. In Magadi, 6 sensory agencies are called salayatana. Salayatana. When an object comes into contact with appropriate sense faculty, if this contact triggers the arising of sankhara mind, that contact is an abnormal contact. In Magadi, it's called paticca. Paticca. The word paticca is made up of 2 words, pati plus icca. So, paticca means it's a contact to be willingly attached, or it's a contact of intentional attachment. All right. So, how do we feel when a raga intention arises in our mind? How do we feel when a desire arises in our mind? We feel a pleasant sensation. We feel a pleasant sensation. So, how do we feel when dosa intention arises in our mind? How do we feel when we get angry? We feel an unpleasant sensation. When a moha intention arises, we feel a comparative sensation between the pleasant and the unpleasant. Practically, people who are inept in the Dhamma have no idea either of comparative sensation or of comparative mind, because they have no idea about moha. However, there are three sensations. In Magadhi, sensations are called as Vedana. Sensations. So, we human beings, what are we doing for living? Or what would we like to do for living? Or what do we constantly seek? What do we constantly seek? We constantly seek pleasurable sensations. Pleasurable sensations. We are addicted to sensations. We are slaves of our sensations. Entertaining sensations is our sansaric enjoyment. It's our sansaric alwa. It's our sansaric exuberance. Sometimes we call it happiness. Sometimes we call it sadness or aversion. We are always in search of fresh sensations, more and more. As long as we desire pleasurable sensations, we are followed by unpleasurable sensations. It's an universal law. But our desire for pleasurable sensations has no limit, because our ignorance has no limit. It's clear that we are the creators of our own desires. This means we are the creators of our own existence. We are the creators of our own existence of dukkha. All right. So, when a non-aligned intention arises, we feel a non-aligned sensation. Non-aligned sensation. In general, it's called neutral sensation. Neutral sensation. When an object comes into contact with appropriate sense faculty, if this contact triggers a sankhara intention, we feel a sensation, and simultaneously there evolves a perception. And we identify what we contact and what we feel. Perception. In Magadhi, perception is called as sanya. There are 6 modes of perception: visual perception, auditory perceptions, olfactory perception, gustatory perception, tactile perception, and ideational perception. When an object comes into contact with appropriate sense faculty, if this contact triggers the arising of sankhara mind, there arises a Vinyan energy. Vinyan energy. Vinyan energy. It's an impure mental energy. Vinyan means corrupted cognition. Corrupted cognition. Vinyan is not always present. It's not static. Vijnana is a dynamic process that arises and passes away according to contacts, according to paticca contacts. There are 6 modes of Vinyan. There are 6 modes of Vinyan. When Vinyan energy arises through the eye, we call it in Magadhi Chakku Vinyana. Eye Vinyana. When Vinyana energy arises through the ear, we call it Sota Vinyana. Ear Vinyana, etc. Analogy is fire. When wood burns, we call it wood fire. When straw burns, we call it straw fire. When oil burns, we call it oil fire. But fire is always fire. So, the rise in Vijnana energy pollutes our mind, corrupts our mind. Then, the polluted mind, the corrupted mind radiates in our words and deeds. When our mind gets corrupted, when our mind gets polluted through arising Vijnana energy, we call it Mano Sankhara. That means mental Sankhara or psychological Sankhara, Mano Sankhara. When our words get corrupted, get polluted through arising Vijnana energy, we call them Vachi Sankhara, verbal Sankhara. Verbal Sankhara. When our physical actions get corrupted, get polluted through arising Vijnana energy, we call them Kaya Sankhara, physical Sankhara. In this manner, there are 3 forms of Sankhara. Mental Sankhara, verbal Sankhara, and physical Sankhara. But Sankhara can be explained in many different ways. And another major way of explanation of Sankhara is based on the depth of the action. We call them Abhisankara. Abhisankara. Abhi means deep, deep-rooted or powerful. Because these Abhisankara deeply influence our future existence. Because they are deeply attached in our mind. Abhisankara. There are 3 forms of Abhisankara. There are 3 forms of Abhisankara. The first form is called Punyabhisankara. That means deep, meritorious actions based on raga, dosa, and moha intentions. People do a lot of meritorious deeds to cling to merits. People perform a lot of meritorious deeds expecting better or greater benefits in return. They are very good actions, positive actions. But what's the problem? Problem is the intention behind the action is impure. The Buddha taught, Cetana aham bhikkhave kammang vadami. Action is not karma, but intention behind the action is karma. Therefore, these meritorious actions based on raga, dosa and moha intentions produce meritorious karma. The second aspect, the second form is called apunyabhisankara. That means deep demeritorious actions based on raga, dosa and moha intentions. People perform a lot of sins, curses, hatred and black magics, etc. These negative actions produce demeritorious karma. The third form is called aninjabhisankara. Aninjabhisankara means deep or powerful, imperturbable actions based on raga, dosa and moha intentions. People practice many kinds of meditation techniques. They attained dhyanas. Through these dhyanas, they attain deep mental ecstasy. They attained supernormal mental states. They attain supernormal mental powers and abilities, but they cling to them. Therefore, these actions produce imperturbable karma. Therefore, mental karma, verbal karma, physical karma, or meritorious karma, demeritorious karma, imperturbable karma, they all are karma. The Buddha taught, karma khayo nibbana. Severing karma is nibbana. Instead of severing, these actions produce fresh karma. All these actions based on raga, dosa and moha intentions can be explained in 10 unwholesome actions. 10 unwholesome actions. In Magadhi, unwholesome is called as akusala. So, what is unwholesome? What is unwholesome? If we perform any action based on raga, dosa or moha intention, it's an unwholesome action. Unwholesome means mental impurity. Unwholesome means hold in the dirt, collect in the dirt. If we perform any action to extend our existence, is an unwholesome action. Unwholesome. We should understand well what is unwholesome and what are the primary roots of unwholesome: raga, dosa and moha. Let's talk about 10 unwholesome actions in detail in our next lessons. So, as a result of engaging with 10 unwholesome actions, we keep continuing into the infinite existence. Existence of what? Existence in terms of birth, aging, sickness, death, pain, distress, sorrow, lamentation and despair. Existence in terms of dukkha. It's the final result. It's the consequence of our unwholesome actions generated through raga, dosa, and moha intentions. The Buddha taught the theory of cause and effect. So my question is, according to the teaching of the Buddha, what are the causes and what are the effects? How many causes are there? There are only 3 causes: raga, dosa, and moha intentions. So what's the effect? What's the effect? The effect is the existence of dukkha. It's the effect. So, explaining Sankhara mind, we came across 5 groups. The first group, matter, rupa. The second group, sensations, vedana. The third group, perception, sanya. The fourth group, sankhara, actions based on raga, dosa, and moha intentions. The last group, Vinyana energy, or Vinyana, the corrupted cognition. These 5 groups are called 5 aggregates. 5 aggregates. So if we reflect the reality of what we call being, self, or individuality is nothing but a combination of physical and mental aggregates which perform together simultaneously and interdependently. The notion of I is a physio-psychological mechanism of 5 aggregates which arise and pass away from moment to moment according to contacts, according to paticca contacts. Therefore, the idea of an independent I, which always present, is an illusion. Not only the notion of I, but also everything what we have accumulated, everything what we have possessed is nothing but 5 aggregates. So what's the consequence of clinging to 5 aggregates? It's called dukkha. The Buddha taught, Sankittena pancha upadana kandapi dukkha. The consequence of clinging to 5 aggregates is dukkha, the existence of dukkha. The existence, our life. Our life is a flowing process of intentions, a flux of intentions always moving, always changing, like a mountain river. Therefore, nothing could be held or maintained at our pleasure as we would like to. Nothing could be kept under our control, under our possession, or under our charm. Because sooner or later, everything changes. We are in a process of inevitable, perpetual transformation. It's beyond our control. If we try to comprehend this reality profoundly, probably we will be less selfish people. And we will be better and happier people. We will transmit our happiness to others around us. And probably we will be realistic in our desires and our expectations. And probably we will be free of all kinds of suffering. We will be free of dukkha. We will be free of existence of dukkha. And probably we will be wiser people. All right. Here it's necessary to point out that when a non-aligned intention arises, we feel a non-aligned sensation, and there evolves a non-aligned perception, and there arises a jnana shakti. Jnana shakti means non-aligned cognition or non-aligned mental energy, or simply cognition. So, we talked about two aspects of the mind, sankhara mind and non-aligned mind. So what's the third aspect of the mind? Who is a Buddhist? What makes one a Buddhist? What kind of actions should be exercised by a Buddhist? All right. See you next time. Suapat veva, all living beings, all sentient beings.